everybody, and welcome to episode number 41 of Hot for Teacher. I'm Adam Coble, which if that's a surprise to you, I guess that's okay. Hi, welcome. Hello. So, my dear friends, this is a show where we talk about relationships. That's what Hot for Teacher is. So we're gonna discuss, I would love to be able to actually answer some relationship questions, but most of the time the questions that we get on Hot for Teacher aren't like, Dear Abby, which of the forks should I use in this formal dining environment? Dear Throndir, which arrow should I use to strike the orcs with my bow? It's about discussing questions. It's about the questions that come up in our day-to-day lives in interacting with other human beings. So it's sort of an advice show, sort of not. I don't know which fork you're supposed to use. This is not the show for that. But today we're going to talk about gender. We're going to talk about relationship expectations. We're going to talk about one's relationship with oneself and what to do when that relationship becomes, for lack of a better word, bullshit. Every week that we do an episode of this show, I discuss 3 topics presented by you, maybe you specifically, but in more general terms, you, at my website, www.adam-coble.com. You can click on the Hot for Teacher link, fill out the form, and we will discuss your questions. Now, obviously, I get a lot of questions about relationships. I get a lot of concerns. I will usually pick ones that I think have a nice broad appeal, but every once in a while we'll pick a real specific niche one. So whatever thing is on your mind, whatever you want the conversation to be about, don't be shy. Go on over to the website, submit a question, because I love hearing them and I love having the opportunity to bring these topics up. And I think the feedback that we get for this show week in and week out, every episode is, I didn't know other people felt that way. It feels so nice not to be the only one feeling that. So that in and of itself, I think, is a good reason to be doing something like this, just to kind of reassure people that no, the problem you are having, no matter how ridiculously specific it feels, no matter how alone you might feel in dealing with it, you probably aren't. The world is a big place, and we are jamming it full of people having experiences. And today, we're going to discuss the experiences of 3 brave question askers, starting with Will. So Will has a question about gender. Now, Will wanted me to preface this question with the fact that he is from Argentina and English is his second language. So if there are any grammar mistakes, Will apologizes. Will, you don't have to apologize. Don't worry about it. We got you. So Will wants to know, I am a 19-year-old heterosexual man. Man, I remember when I thought I was a 19-year-old heterosexual man. I have long hair and am the average height for a woman. I am shorter than average height for a man, but I'm really happy with my body. Well, congratulations, Will. I'm really glad. I also was once a 19-year-old who was happy with my body. I'll stop interrupting you, Will. I've always been confused with a woman, and it's never affected me, except when I was a child, until today. Last week, I realized that I've only had bisexual girlfriends or partners or that kind of thing. The girls who I've had sex with tell me they like the girlish parts of my appearance, and that affects me because of how I see myself. When I go on a date with a heterosexual girl, it never goes well because I'm the same or lower height than them. I have long hair or other physical stuff. I've been really thinking of cutting my hair because of that. Should I? Question mark. Will. Oh boy. So this is a whole set of things here, Will, right? We're looking at not only Will's understanding of his own gender presentation, but we're looking at the way that the world looks at people in terms of gender more generally, right? Because this is fundamentally a question about what does it mean to be masculine or feminine? What does it mean to put forth those signals into the world, whether you intend to or not? What does it mean to receive those signals, and how can we do so in a meaningful way? Now, the short answer here, Will, is it sounds to me like you're pretty cool with how you look. It sounds to me like you are confident about your appearance, confident about your body. You do not feel isolated by it. You are having a harder time necessarily dealing with a particular subset of human beings that might or might not be attracted to you. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, you are allowed to present your gender in whatever way feels comfortable for you. The rest of the world be damned. Now, that's easy advice to give, but it's harder advice to follow, right? It's a hard thing to say, oh, gender is a construct. I'm just going to do what I want and fuck what other people think. But that's also okay. You're allowed. So let's pick this apart a little. Let's expand on this. So first of all, Will, you're only 19, right? And I don't mean that to infantilize or belittle you. I don't mean like, you're only 19. Like what an ignoramus. It's not about that. You're only 19, which is to say that you are at the beginning of a long and granular gender journey. Now, it might be that you figure out your gender presentation real quick, and that is the gender presentation that works for you for the whole rest of your life, right? You might just realize, you know what, this is who I am, this is how I want to be, and I'm gonna just lock in for the rest of your life. But chances are pretty good that even if you make a decision right now about how you want to present your gender, there will be experiences in your life, both internal to the way that you think and feel about things, and external based on the way that the world treats you and how people are, that will affect how you see yourself and your gender. Gender is a thing that is fluid, not just in the sense that people can be a lot of different things, right? Not just in the sense that the binary is a false pretense, right? It's not just that. It's that your idea of your gender is allowed to be fluid. So while you may be feeling pressure to present in a more traditionally masculine way, that pressure might change over time, right? You might find that the people that you are around, the kinds of interactions you have with people, those will change how you see yourself and others. And other people will see you differently as their ideas of gender change too, right? And this is why I think that as a society, I think as groups of people, we need to be open-minded about the ways that people express themselves, including, but not limited just to their gender, right? If somebody tells you, I am a man, I identify as a man, I use he, him pronouns, but they are wearing makeup and have long, beautiful eyelashes and flowing hair, and they wear dresses and high heels, you need to just accept that, because dresses and high heels and long, beautiful flowing hair and height and all of those things are only gendered because we have been instructed to think of them that way. So your height, for example, and the length of your hair may to some people signal a certain gender presentation, but that's only because that's where those people have learned what gender is, right? And this is a thing, if you look at it in, let's say, for example, color, right? Let's look at color, and you can apply this same thing to music, to really any like human expression, but let's look at color. So depending on your culture, depending on the audience for a piece of art, they're going to assign certain feelings to certain colors, right? In one culture, the color white might mean pristine. It might mean untouched. It might mean, I don't know, virginal, right? There are cultures that color means that thing. But in another culture, the color white might mean death. It might be a funeral color, right? We make these assumptions based on our own culture and our own experiences that certain things universally mean certain things, but they don't, right? So having long hair and being of a certain height do not inherently indicate anything about your gender. You can be a short man with long hair and beautiful eyelashes who wears a dress. All of those things can be a part of the way that you express your masculinity, right? So don't feel pressured, Will, to conform to other people's ideas of what it looks like to be a man. Because as long as you, in your heart and in your brain, as long as you are moving through the world with authenticity, as long as you are being honest with yourself and how you see yourself and the way you fit into the world, how you express that is completely up to you. Now, in a perfect world, obviously we do not live in such a place, but in a perfect world, we would be able to simply accept people's gender, and we would be able to accept their presentation of that gender without any kind of confusion or complication. But I don't think we live in that world yet. Now, I can't speak to the people that Will surrounds himself with, but you can see that Will is already detecting a pattern, right? Now, the trick here, and this is the thing that sort of concerns me about the situation that Will is in, I feel there is some subtext here where Will is having a better experience with bisexual women in a romantic and sexual way because Will maybe believes subconsciously or consciously that those women like him more because he is more feminine, because they already like having sex with women, which in and of itself, that's not really better, right? Because if Will says, I am a man, I am a masculine person, I have long hair and I am short, I date bisexual women because they are not afraid of being with a person who has feminine tendencies. They do not demand a traditionally masculine presentation from Will, right? The problem is that that's still just reinforcing the gender binary, right? That's still saying I date people who are not afraid to have sex with me because I look kind of like a lady to them. You're still undercutting your own masculine presentation here, Will. What I'm saying here is that it is okay for you to determine the outward expression of your inward gender. And while I want to say, like, don't cut your hair for anybody if that's what you don't want to do, I also want to say, you know what? Experiment. You're 19. You have a whole, and you know what? Fuck it. It's not because you're 19. Everybody has this same freedom. You have the whole rest of your life ahead of you. It just happens to be that the rest of Will's life might be longer than mine, but you can experiment. Cut your hair. See how it feels. Grow it back. If you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. Shave your head. Grow a beard. Don't. Wear a dress. Wear high heels. Wear sneakers. Wear a puffy vest. Wear a full suit of 16th century plate armor. I don't care. Your gender is your own belonging, right? And the thing is, Will, you are allowed to define what this looks like. And I know that there is a question here of effort. There is a question of effort. And this is a thing that anyone who has a non-normative presentation of their gender, they have this struggle. Because what Will is also asking here is, would it just be easier to play the role, right? Would it just be easier to be what other people expect a man to be? Like, yeah. I mean, I think this is the thing, Will. If you want to, you can see how it feels to present in a more traditionally masculine way. You can cut your hair. You could, I don't know, grow a mustache. You could do whatever looks masculine in your culture, whatever is your culture's assumption of masculinity. Will that give you opportunities to maybe do romantic and sexual things with heterosexual women who like that particular presentation of masculinity? Yeah, probably. Honestly, like probably tailoring your experience to try tailoring your gender presentation to try to appeal to a particular kind of person, that is a thing you can do. But the thing is, if you do that, if you do that and you're only doing it so that you can attract heterosexual ladies, I don't know that it's going to be satisfying for you. I think, and this is something like, as I'm thinking about this advice for Will, I'm thinking about the way we consume things. I'm thinking about books and movies and TV shows, but in a way, people's gender presentation is a form of, it's a form of performance in the same way that a TV show is, or a movie is, right? So if you want to, you can perform your gender to attract a specific audience. But remember, your performance of gender should be ultimately, I think, for you, right? I think it should be, do you feel happy and comfortable, right? Do you feel like the way you are presenting your gender is good for you? Does it make you feel seen? I know ways that I can present my gender to the world that make me feel like I'm being authentic to my experience, right? If your masculinity involves having long, beautiful hair, then fucking keep doing it. Does it mean you're going to have a harder time dating the heterosexual women around you? Probably. Is that okay? Ultimately, yeah, I think so. Because really, the most important, this is just such, I'm cringing at my own corniness before I even say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Ultimately, Will, the person that deserves your attention and time, the person with whom the relationship matters most, is yourself. So if you get a haircut and you try to perform a more traditional form of masculinity, and you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, I don't like how I feel. Well, I mean, lesson learned, right? Remember, your gender is ultimately for you first and for everyone else second. I would say if you feel like you want to try, rock and roll. But if you don't, if you like the way you present your masculinity, keep doing it. The people that don't understand or like it, well, you'd rather be, I imagine, a 10 to one person than a 5 to 100 people. It just means that you got to find those people that respect and understand what you're putting out into the world. Give yourself time, right? Again, you're 19. I remember being 19. It's a whole lot of bullshit. Your ideas of your own place in the world will solidify with time and with experience. But you don't have to change who you appear to be for anybody. Do it for you, Will. Nobody in your life is more important than that. It's tough though, hey? Like the prevailing narrative, the way that we are pressured to perform. I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to a friend of mine about how sometimes when I'm doing traditionally masculine things, when I'm doing things that are not traditionally masculine, like say shopping for makeup, for example, I find it more comfortable, the hope that the people that work in the store that sells makeup will assume that I am gay rather than a straight person violating gender norms, right? That feels more comfortable to me than the alternative. Gender is a whole thing, and we are programmed not to violate those boundaries, right? It is a thing we are taught, right? Boys don't cry, right? Girls aren't assertive. We are taught how to behave, and it's painful, right? It is a set of heavy shackles that get put on us. So I don't know, take those shackles off. right? Try on some other things. And you know what? It might come back to you feel like you look cool wearing those shackles, right? Maybe part of your outfit is badass iron shackles that were given to you by the gender gods. Maybe that's your thing, but own it, right? Yeah, it's complicated, and add on to that you are only 19. It's a whole thing. I guess what I want to do here is give Will, and I'm not an authority on this, but sometimes reinforcing language is just nice to hear. I want to give Will and everybody else in Will's position permission to be who you feel comfortable being, even if you don't know what that's like. Experiment. Try new things. You never wore a dress before? Try it. Maybe you like it. You don't have to dress or be who somebody else told you to be just because you were born with certain genitals. Don't worry about it. Our second question is about relationship momentum. And I think moving from one end of the experience train to the other, this is gonna be a question that I think resonates with some of our older listeners, right? I include myself in that. People who have been doing this for a while. Frosty Boots has a question for us. So Frosty Boots says, I feel like I'm on a train that is going to a destination I don't think will fit me. Said destination includes things I stated at the outset I don't want to experience, and now appears to not include a thing I do want to explore. In this case, deep commitment to specific core friends, up to and including having a primary romantic partner, doing sex stuff maybe. The issue is that I've been on this train for more than the train, just as an aside, the train here is a relationship, just in case anybody hadn't picked that up. The train is a relationship. Anyway, the issue is, or a pattern of relationships. The issue is I've been on this train for more than 2 years. I've never been in a relationship that didn't span at least a few seasons, so I'm extremely bad at breaking up or having harder discussions. I don't know if the differences are irreconcilable, but I do know that bringing up anything at all will cause issues, and I'm terribly codependent and dating someone pretty sensitive about these questions. As far as I know, I feel like I'm now in a relationship I wouldn't have agreed to at the outset, and like the proverbial frog in water, it's been so gradual I haven't noticed. How do I bring any of this up without destroying my partner? I'll make it through regardless, but I have a habit of not doing anything in case it causes greater harm on the other side. Once I had a love, and it was a gas. Soon found out he had a heart of glass. So, first of all, old Frosty Boots here, I feel you, right? Like it is very difficult, I think, for most people to do things they know will cause harm to others. I know that you feel like if you attempt to take this train and change it to another track, all that is going to happen is that the train will flip over, burst into flame, and kill everyone on board. And you don't want to be responsible for that. But the problem is, the longer the train rides down the track, the more you are going to slowly die inside. Because you know you're doing something that has become not what you want it to be. And this happens to everybody. This is a thing that happens to relationships. We have to be vigilant about this shift, because you might enter a relationship thinking it's going to be different this time. I have laid out my boundaries clearly at the beginning. I have stated what I want and need, and that is clear. And now that I have done that, we are going to end up at that destination. We are going to continue down this track no matter what. But even if we get on the train intending to go to one place, sometimes we can find that maybe I'm going to try to use your metaphor here, maybe we fell asleep and we didn't notice that the train has changed to another track, heading slowly towards Bummertown. You don't want to go to Bummertown. You didn't get on with the intention of going to Bummertown. You wanted to go to Happyville, But guess what? This train's not going there anymore. And you need to make a decision whether or not to try to stop the train so everybody can get off or just bail the fuck out. Because here's the thing, right? This situation that Frosty Boots is in, I appreciate it. I think having empathy for people is very important. I think it's really easy to say, and this is why so many relationship advice columns and shows just piss me off, because I think the easy advice, if it wanted to be flip, is just like, girl, break up with that guy, right? Just get out. Get out of that relationship. The end. It's so easy. But Frosty Boots has specifically pointed out codependence, dating somebody sensitive, fear of causing harm, willingness to self-sacrifice instead of just getting what you want. I feel all of that so deeply. I think that this resonates. I'm with you, Frosty Boots. I've been in that position. But the old chestnut here is you got to care for yourself first, right? You got to look after you. Because if you don't look after you and you're not happy, how can the relationship be healthy? Right? How can you expect anyone else to take care of you if you're not able to be firm about those boundaries? Say, wait a second, this train sucks. I don't want to go to Bummer Town. Can we redirect the train? If not, I got to get off. Hard discussions are challenging, especially if you are having them with someone who is reticent to engage. I think the worst thing that could happen here for Frosty Boots is for her to go to someone that she is on this train with and say, hey, I want to talk to you about something important. And they say, nope. Because then what are you going to do, right? What if they refuse to engage? It requires a lot of energy and practice and time and emotional power to be able to stand up for yourself. It's often just easier to be the doormat and just let everybody walk all over you. And as long as they're happy, why worry, right? The thing about the frog in the pot of water here, Frosty Boots, is there's only one end for that frog, right? If you don't realize that you're in the boiling water until it's too late, that's it. That's it for Mr. Frog. So we want you to get out of this situation or turn the damn heat down. And I'm sorry to say, Frosty Boots, it will take effort. It will take that stone in the pit of your stomach, closed throat, heart pounding, palm sweaty, mom spaghetti feeling. You're gonna have to come face to face with that. Now, hopefully, Frosty Boots, you're in a position where counseling of some variety is available to you, that you can get support in this. Hopefully that is professional support, but if not, hopefully you have a network of friends who are not on the train. There may be people who are watching this train travel to the bad place and they're not sure how to help you, and maybe you can reach out to them. Right? This is why support networks, whatever they look like, are so important. And again, Frosty Boots, I empathize. I am so bad at this. I am very, very bad at asking other people for help or support. It's a wonder I can even do the job that I do. But it has to be done, right? If you do not feel you can engage this safely and comfortably yourself, you're going to need to engage your support network. But I would say if it's at all possible, find yourself a counselor, find yourself a therapist, find somebody who is professionally trained, and then tell them what you told me, right? Be like, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I need. Help me build those skills. And hopefully this person will be able, through various protocols, through role playing, through maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, through whatever tools they have available to them that work for you, they're going to help you get from, oh God, I can't have this conversation, to I am ready, I am confident, I am scared as shit, but I'm still going to do it. Right? Life is full of suffering. It is my belief that we are born, we suffer, and then we die. And part of being alive is attempting to reduce suffering, both for ourselves and others, in that order, right? So think about the kind of suffering you are looking at right now, Frosty Boots. You have the suffering of staying on the train, right? This is you being miserable for the sake of your assumed beneficiaries, right? Other people in your life. And then you have the pain of pulling off the Band-Aid. You have the pain of addressing the issue and dealing with it. Which pain would you rather feel? One is going to hurt for a bit, but hopefully get you to a better place. The other is not going to hurt so much, but eventually it will drive you into the ground. Eventually you will look back on your life and think, I lived my life for someone else. I didn't live my life for me. And I don't want you to feel that. I don't want you to get there and look back and regret this train ride. I want you to remember the moment that you put your goddamn hand on the wheel. I don't know how trains work. You changed the direction of your life. And I know it's scary and I know it's hard, and you're not necessarily going to be able to just go and do it. It takes time and practice working up to it. So my suggestion here, and this is my suggestion to everybody, just like I don't care how much mental health stuff you have already. I don't care how much you're dealing with. I don't care if you think that emotionally and mentally you are perfect. Maybe especially if you think that, go find a counselor, talk to somebody, get some professional help, because life is fucking hard, and it's nice to be able to have somebody who can help you through it, right? Don't expect to shed your codependence right away. But the problem is here, Frosty Boots, you do have to do something, right? Or else you're going to be on the sad train to Bummerville for the rest of your mortal life. And really, there's nothing cool about living a life driven purely by momentum. How'd you get here? I don't know. I just ended up here, right? I appreciate your empathy, Frosty Boots. Like I see the things in this question that make you a caring person. Right? I see the core of you here that doesn't want to hurt people you love and is willing to suffer for their sake. But I feel like that for you. So I don't know. Maybe Frosty Boots, if it helps, I'm cheering for you. I want you to have the things you want. And while maybe everyone else in your life wants you to be a doormat, I don't. And every time somebody steps on you to get what they want and makes you sad and makes you feel bad, I feel bad too. I want what's good for you. And I know we don't know each other, but I want you to be happy. So if that helps at all, just remember, everybody except for Adam wants me to be miserable for their own benefit, but Adam will not stand for it. And the next time you feel scared to have a hard conversation, I hope you remember that I think you can do it. I believe in you. So go out there, engage your support network, whatever it looks like. You can do it. You can get out of this situation. You can change the direction of the train, or you can stop the goddamn train and get on a helicopter instead. Right? You have other options in your life. You are not bound to this just because it makes other people happy. It's nice. It's nice to make other people happy, but not at your own expense. You'll find the things that help you with that confidence. For me, it's little things that lead up to big stuff, right? Saying no to small things helps empower me to say no to big things. Asking for little things helps empower me to ask for big things. So maybe find some small stuff, right? If it's scary to you to derail the train completely, maybe start with some little bits and pieces, right? And remember, your happiness is as important as anybody else's, right? You need to believe in you, right? And that you are worth being happy, that your boundaries matter. And if it's hard to see now, hopefully it will become less that way in the future. But other people want you to be happy too, right? You just got to go find those people and engage them, and they'll help you get out of the place you're in. Or at least change direction, right? Because it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Relationships aren't a static object. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like for me, sometimes it's easy to feel like things can't change or won't, no matter what we do, or that we might try to be happy at someone else's expense, and that's not okay. That's not true. You deserve happiness in the same way that everybody else does, right? As much as everyone else on this train deserves it, so do you. So our last question, this question comes to us from Nat, and Nat is having some issues with doubt, I suppose. And there's a bit of a throughput from Frosty's question into this one, but I know people who are in the same position as Nat, and I think it's worth addressing because I think this is a pretty common feeling. So Nat says, I try to be kind to myself and work on my pessimism, being more aware of the things that I want, who I am, and I feel I'm doing just fine. I've been going through a hard time since 3 years ago, and I've made it, as someone said. I'm now a strong, independent, single parent. I didn't give up. I'm still fighting to be a better person, but I have problems with stopping self-sabotage. The negative thoughts about my future, relationships that I have, or the ones that I would like to have, as I'm single for some years now, scare me a lot. I don't like hating myself for having these bad days or even weeks. I know that sometimes I just need to be sad to be happy the next day. How to fully enjoy here and now without analyzing the past or worrying about the future? Why do I feel incomplete when there's no romantic relationship in my life? Do I really need it? Or is this a leftover societal pressure I'm trying not to follow? So, fair bit here. And I kind of like this question because it includes bits from our first and our second question, in the sense that there is external pressure, there's internal pressure, there's the idea that we need to ascribe value to our lives. And to do so, we have to understand what things give a life value, right? For some people, a long-term relationship with a romantic partner feels like it gives their life value. For some people, work instills value. For others, it's artistic expression. For some, it's having babies. Not for me. You, however, that might be something that's valuable. And I think the thing here is understanding that there are a myriad paths that we can follow to feel fulfilled. Fulfillment is a process of choosing a path and following it. It's not a place we end up, right? Feeling self-assured and feeling fulfilled, being happy, it's not a destination. And in fact, all of these roads before us, right? All of these roads that we have, whether they're assigned to us by society, whether they are self-determined, whether they are certain and clear, or they are foggy and confused, all of these roads lead to one place. No matter how long and winding they are, they lead to the grave, right? You cannot look at your life and say, this road ends in happiness. This road ends in prosperity. This road ends in a good life. All lives end in dying. That's the only ending. So instead of looking at where we're trying to go, let's be aware of the road that we are currently on and whether or not that road and the walking thereof gives us joy and happiness and peace and fulfillment and satisfaction, right? Or whatever, right? And so to do that, to be able to understand that journey and whether or not it gives us value, we have to know what things in life along the way are going to feel good for us, right? Knowing the things that are on either side of the road as we walk it. For example, continuing this sort of silly metaphor, before you set out on a journey, right? You've got your adventurer's pack full of rations. You got your longsword, you got your spell book, whatever. You're ready to go out on an adventure. And you're not going anywhere in particular. You're just going out looking for adventure. And you have a couple of options, right? You leave the town, you leave the starting zone, and before you there are 3 roads. There's a road through the mountains. It's going to be a path of high resistance. You're going to have to do a lot of climbing. It's probably going to rain. It's going to be rocky and difficult. But along the way, you're going to get beautiful sights, right? You're going to see the mountain. You're going to be able to look back where you came, and you're going to see the village you came from. It's going to be a journey of sweeping highs that come at a great cost, right? Or you have a path through a desert, and it's going to be vast and stark. It's going to be hot and windy, but you're going to get to come face to face with the great open emptiness of nature, right? It presents another opportunity. Or you can go through the forest, right? It's a well-paved path that travels through the king's woods. Maybe you'll see an animal, maybe not. You'll probably pass other travelers as you move through this path. And before you choose one, you have to know, or at least have an idea, whether you prefer the mountains, the desert, or the forest. Do you want a challenging journey, or do you want a calm and relaxing journey? The issue here is that society and our culture we grow up in tells us sometimes there's actually only one road. So when you step out of the village and you look around, you may ignore the desert path. You might ignore the mountain path because your parents and the village elder and the priest in the temple all tell you there is only one path. There is only the forest path. Everyone must walk the forest path. And so you might ignore your other options because you're being told you really only have one. And maybe you don't like the forest. Maybe you don't like the woods. Maybe you want to climb a goddamn mountain. But even if you choose the mountain path, you're going to be looking down at the woods thinking, man, everybody else must be having such an easy time walking through the woods. So, adventuresome journey, Tolkien metaphor, whatever aside, the thing here is I don't think you can ever fully enjoy the here and now without understanding the past or looking to the future. I think there is value in trying. There's value in appreciating not the peak of the mountain, but the path up to it, right? But I think you chose the mountain because you want to get that sick view from up top. Having an idea of why you chose the path that you're on, right? Why did I choose the job that I'm doing? Why did I choose the relationships I'm in? Why did I choose to have children or not have children, right? All of those things are useful in giving you context, but don't let them bind you to that path. Because what we might think of as 3 clear options, they're not really. You can start down that desert road, get lonely, take a sharp left, walk a little ways, and guess who's in the foothills, right? We can take a walk in the woods one day and then return to the village. It doesn't work that way there's no constraint on what you want to do with your life. So let's discard the metaphor. Let's talk about these specific questions. So why do I feel incomplete when there's no romantic relationship in my life? I don't know. I can posit some guesses. But I can't tell you that. I will say asking that question is valuable, right? Now, maybe it's because you've had positive romantic relationships in the past that have boosted your life and you miss them. You want something like that, right? Maybe you feel incomplete because society is telling you that that's your job, right? It is your responsibility. It is part of a normal life to have a romantic relationship. That might be the case. But the point here isn't necessarily the answer to the question. It's why do you feel the way that you do, and how does that affect your life? How does that affect the movement through life? So if, for example, you realize, I feel incomplete because there's no romantic relationship, because I value romantic relationships, that will tell you, walk a path on which you might find someone to join you, right? Pursue that because it's healthy. But if you realize all you really want is to feel fulfilled, and maybe romantic relationships are a part of that, but you could take it or leave it, that will give you insight into your life's journey, right? It sounds to me, Nat, from what you've told me here in your question, it sounds to me like you are doing a pretty fucking good job with your life, right? You got a kid, you're raising them, taking care of that kid, right? You're working on shit. You're continuing. You haven't stopped. Despite having the responsibility for another human life, you're still thinking about yourself and working on you. You recognize that sometimes being sad is a necessity, that having a rough day or a rough week, it's a part of being alive. You got your shit together, Nat. And I hope that you can remember that when you feel lesser, when you feel incomplete. I hope you can remember all of the things that you're doing in your life that aren't incomplete, right? So I guess the thing here is to have confidence. And obviously confidence isn't something you can just generate from nothing. Being pessimistic, especially about the self, is very complicated. I think that it's difficult to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm good enough, right? I am everything that I need, and everything else is of additional benefit. It's hard to do that. I'm not going to tell you have to just love yourself all the time. I think it's totally reasonable to feel like you don't have your shit together, or you're miserable or sad or whatever. But I think the thing to remember, the thing to lean into here is that it passes with time, right? That if you recognize that your feelings of incompleteness, your feelings of sadness, your feelings of misery, they will go, that emotion is a temporary state, it should help. And it sounds like it helps already, right? Whether or not you want a romantic relationship in your life is up to you. But I will tell you, whether you decide to pursue one or you decide to go it without, both things are equally valid, right? There is no one way that is better than any other. And again, it sounds to me, Nat, like you understand. You understand that there is pressure from outside to behave a certain way. And it's one thing to reject that pressure, and it's another to recognize that the thing you want is the same as the pressure you're getting, but for different reasons. So I don't know. I think the thing here, Nat, is to allow yourself room to try. Much like we told Will, give yourself room to try new things, right? Like, have a relationship or don't, right? Pursue romance but do so with curiosity rather than necessarily intensity, right? It sounds like you have some questions about what your life should look like, what you want your life to end up looking like, what you want that journey to be like as you slowly shuffle, as we all do, towards the grave, right? I think we all have feelings of worthlessness or struggle. I think that if a person tells you, I've never thought a bad thing about myself in my whole life, they're either lying to you or they're lying to themselves. I think that being uncertain and the analysis that comes with that uncertainty, I think that can be a healthy tool. I think feeling that way is healthy unless it's dragging you down. And just like I said to Frosty, like, talk about these things with someone who has professional training in helping you through it, right? If you're not already seeing a counselor, do, if that's within your ability. Otherwise, find people in your support network who have similar experiences or different experiences and talk to them, open up to them about what your life looks like. Because I guess that's one thing that is true for most people, is that we're not alone on our slow slide into corpsehood. That there are people around us, whether they are walking next to us hand in hand, or we happen to just pass them on the journey. We can learn things from other people. We can offer up the things that we have learned. I think Nat probably has a lot to offer as a human being. And I think that if we find people to support us, whether professionally or to dedicated amateurs in the way of friends or other close relationships, it can make the journey feel a lot less daunting. And I especially imagine that for Nat as a single parent, that sense of being alone on the journey can be quite overwhelming sometimes. So I would suggest, I suppose, and I guess this is good advice, I hope, for everybody. I would suggest that, like, engage your network, right? The next time you are struggling with something, even something little, try to reach out, right? Try to just, like, ask for help, whether that's emotional support, right? Whether that's like just a message from someone you trust that says, hey, you can do it. Whether it's a hug, whether it's someone bringing you lunch, whatever. Try to engage that network in some way. Make a habit of both helping and asking for help from people. I know that's really scary and hard. I have a hard time with it too. I'm saying this as much as homework for me as I am for you. And if you feel like you don't have that support network, if you feel like there are not people in your life that you can talk to or trust, I feel like often we don't see people that way. I feel like often those networks are there. We just need to engage them. But making friends and finding people we can be close to, I feel like, is a topic for a whole other show. I feel like we could do an entire show about, like, hi, I'm an adult and I don't know how to make friends, because that's a real thing. So maybe I'll look for some questions next time that can help us address that. I know we've talked about it once or twice before, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to build there. But you do have to kind of put yourself out there. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. If you have questions that you want me to discuss, if you have things in your life that you think are of value, or you just want to get us chatting about it, you can submit your questions on my website, www.adam-koble.com. You can click on the Hot for Teacher link, fill out the questions, and we'll talk about them on the show. I think that, you know, part of why I want to do this is just to recognize that, like, being a person is difficult, but that we are all forced to do it. So we might as well at least try to help each other out along the way. So hopefully I've done even just a tiny bit of helping you out along the way on whatever your journey looks like today. I hope that on your on your long hike into demise, I hope that you have at least a little bit of a good time. Thank you for coming today, everybody. This has been episode number 41 of Office Hours. Of course, if you want to check out previous episodes, you can do that on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And if you're already watching this on YouTube, thanks. That's it for me for today. We will see you next time for episode number 42 of Hot for Teacher. Bye, everybody.